So let's get going. We're going to talk about analytics, best practices for small business. If you just joined us, welcome to the New Life event. My name is Shauna Siegel. I'm the CEO of One Choice for Your Store. I'm the host of Ecom Experts on Webmaster Radio. I love education. Education is powerful. I love education. And if you want to learn more about me, just go check out my bio because we are here for the New Life event. Awesome, awesome. Special thank you to our speakers. If it was not for the speakers volunteering their time, we would not have a New Life event. A special thank you to our audience. If it wasn't for you guys out there spreading the word, we would have no New Life event. And we do have some great prizes throughout the entire weekend that we are giving you guys for spreading the word. But don't forget, we also have 3 grand prizes that we're giving out. And you can find out more about those prizes at twitter-winner.com. Tweet about the newlifeevent.com. Tweet at New Life Event. Make sure that you've got the hashtag NLE. And if you go to this little chat room that we've got set up, it will automatically put that hashtag in there for you. So you're automatically qualified anytime you send a tweet. If you're not sure what to tweet, you go into this little chat room and you can just retweet what other people are saying. It's just a very simple way to get involved and have a good time and win prizes too. So we've got a great schedule tonight. We're going to talk about search marketing best practices. We're going to talk about email marketing tonight, Google Places, and is there ROI in social media. So we've got a great night, plus we've got all day tomorrow and Sunday. It's just a wonderful, wonderful event. So if you have any questions at all, you can send them to us on Twitter. We are New Life Event on Twitter, or you can also ask questions on the right-hand side. So what I'm going to do is excuse us for a moment while I switch over to, and I've got to make sure I say it right, Mihaela?
Yes, that's me.
Got it. I got it right. I wanted to make sure. I love your name. So if you could, would you help me to introduce who you are and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Certainly. I've just enabled my my screen, so can everybody see that?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes,
okay.
And it looks perfect, and you sound great.
Thank you. So just a little bit about myself. I've been working for on Yahoo Web Analytics, formerly Index Tools, for almost 5 years now. I'm in a role in which I get to help users of the tool. I get to help them with training, best practices, and advice about how to make use of this tool. And right now at Yahoo, I'm in charge of evangelizing the tool internally and externally, and I'm really delighted to be here today to be able to talk about web analytics in general and a little bit about Yahoo Web Analytics. Can we go ahead and get started?
My apologies. Yes, please. Let's go ahead and get started. I apologize. I'm sitting here. I'm here typing on Twitter and getting ready for all of that good education. So yes, please. And I will mute myself and let you get going.
Okay, very good. So my agenda for today is to take you through general web analytics best practices and then move on to examples from Yahoo Web Analytics. So I would like to start by asking a very basic question. What is the value of web analytics? Why should we invest precious time into learning about yet another tool or another business process? Is it really worth it? You would probably expect this from me, but my answer is yes, absolutely. And let me see how I'm going to move this further. Yes. And the reason why is because web analytics allows you to do 2 things. Learn what works on your website and fix what doesn't. Web analytics is critical to expanding customer intelligence and is an integral part of running an online business. If you have an online business already and you're not tracking your website, I urge you to start doing so as soon as you can. You will find that web analytics data can play a key role in business decisions, and a reliance on data-driven decisions results in more money in your pocket. For those who are considering starting an online business, make sure you plan to deploy a web analytics solution, because without it, you'd be blind to the performance of your business. And although I do think there shouldn't really be any website out there without an analytics solution, for an e-commerce site, web analytics is mandatory because ultimately this is about you using the data intelligently to make more money online. So what is web analytics? First, I have here a definition from the Web Analytics Association, which was created to set industry standards and best practices in this field. This is how the Web Analytics Association defines it. Web analytics is the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of Internet data for the purposes of understanding and optimizing web usage. This is a good and precise definition, as you would expect from the leading institution in this field. And yet, it doesn't really capture the human or business drama that I would say is behind any web analytics endeavor. So, here's my favorite definition of web analytics, provided by Julien Coquet, who is a web analytics consultant and member of the Yahoo Web Analytics Consultant Network. According to Julien, web analytics is when you tell your clients how to fix their crappy and costly websites, save the world, and get warm and fuzzy inside. I think that's a great definition. So that's a definition, but how do you start with web analytics? And no, I'm not suggesting you take a class in sculpture, but yes, you need to start with a question. At the beginning of every conversation I've had with merchants or users of Yahoo Web Analytics, I always ask, what do you want to know about your website? And the answer is not everything the tool has to teach me. Analytics is not so much about finding the perfect tool that you implement on your website and it will do the work for you. On the contrary, finding the tool is the easy part. Then comes the real work, which involves looking at the data, finding the trends, looking for reasons behind actions, and based on the knowledge you gained, taking action to make the website work better. And while analytic solutions are extremely effective in helping tune a website, make sure you're not engaging in what the analytics industry calls report surfing. Checking visitors, conversions, and page views every day is not enough to make your website effective. Web analysis is all about questions, and I've included here some typical questions you may ask. How do I improve my conversion rate? How do I stop visitors abandoning my site? How do I improve my online marketing performance? And how do I increase my sales and revenue? All very good questions, and all emphasizing that you need to do something differently. And now that I have some good questions, what's the next step? Set goals and measurements in place. If you have a website or you're analyzing the performance of a website, you cannot just put the tracking code on it and then sit back and assume that the web analytics tool will give you all the answers. You need to set goals for your website. You need to think about actionable areas of improvement. Don't just count the number of visitors or sales at the end of the month. Set a goal in advance and measure how you're making progress towards that goal. You need to set specific goals that are aligned with your business strategy. For example, while your business strategy is to sell more online, a specific goal can be to modify checkout funnel to decrease abandonment rate by 20%. You can also go a step further and start thinking about KPIs or key performance indicators. What is a KPI? It is a metric that helps you understand how you're doing against your objectives, according to Avinash Kaushik, a well-known evangelist and practitioner in this field. Some typical e-commerce KPIs are the revenue amount and the number of orders, the average revenue per visit, the average order value, and the sale conversion rate. So now that you've set up your goals and measurements and you're collecting data, what will you do with it? You need to work with the data by segmenting and contextualizing it. I've titled this Segment and Contextualize, which might sound a bit grand, but what I want to emphasize is that when working with data, you cannot just look at absolute numbers. You need to look at trends because they are a lot more effective than absolute numbers. Trends provide the big picture and help highlight problem areas. Another important consideration when working with data is context. Numbers just by themselves cannot tell a story. However, when setting them against organizational goals or external benchmarks, it is easier to find insights. For example, at the previous step, we were talking about setting goals, such as the quarterly revenue. Now that we have that goal, we can contextualize website performance by comparing accumulating revenue to that quarterly goal. You can also utilize external benchmarks, such as the FireClick Index. For example, if you run an online store that sells outdoor sports supplies and you wanted to compare your store performance with that of similar stores, you can compare the site's conversion rate last week versus the conversion rate last week for the outdoor and sports sector reported by the FireClick Index. And then comes segmentation. What is it though? Segmentation is dividing your visitors into groups that are similar in particular ways. By segmenting in or out visitor groups or traffic, you can gain insights into how and where to optimize more. For example, what if you wanted to look at the behavior of returning visitors who are from Massachusetts? Your web analytics application should include this data, and you should be able to see the behaviors of this group on your website. Don't be tempted to think of improving your website for the average user, because there is no such thing as an average user. There are individual people who do not want to be treated as average, but want to experience the website as if it was especially designed for them. So think of your visitors as people and try to identify their specific characteristics and engage with them. Let me give you an example of how segmentation is incredibly useful. Think of a merchant who sells widgets and has a site-wide conversion rate of 2%, meaning that for every 100 visitors, 2 place orders. Knowing that the conversion rate is 2% is not actionable. The merchant needs to look more closely at the traffic sources and visitor behavior. Looking at new versus returning visitors and segmenting by that, the merchant may now see that returning visitors convert at 5% compared to new visitors that convert at 1%. With this insight, the merchant can choose to do email marketing campaigns to repeat buyers as opposed to focusing countless hours on improving their search engine rankings. They can offer coupons to bring back previous buyers. Naturally, they should not ignore new buyers, but this insight tells them where they can spend more time to see a bigger ROI. So you can see then that because the merchant thought of segmenting visitors into new and returning, she was able to gain insight, and more importantly, she was able to take action. This is really the most difficult step because it involves making a change. And that is something most people and businesses are reluctant to do. Making changes doesn't mean you need to keep changing your website radically. Rather, it means you should make a habit of identifying a problem area, hypothesizing for a solution, and implementing that solution. For example, if you notice that people are leaving your checkout funnel without completing the purchase and they get distracted looking for the shipping and return policy, then display a prominent link to your shipping and return policy on the checkout pages and see if that makes a difference. Keep looking at your analytics data in order to identify such visitor behaviors quickly, and don't wait for hundreds of visitors to be confused before you make a change. Get into the mindset of analyzing data, implementing a change, and testing its effect. It is really in incremental steps that you can make improvements to your website. And now, having gone through all of that, I want to move on to more specific uses of web analytics, and I'll show you some of the ways in which e-commerce websites can utilize this data. The screenshots I'm using will be from Yahoo Web Analytics because that is the analytics product I know best. So first of all, get to know your visitors. Like we've seen in the previous example, it is crucial you get to know the profile of your visitors. To learn more about your visitors, look at whether they are new or returning, how long they spend on your website, and when in their visitor cycle they are likely to buy. If your website has a longer conversion cycle and they need more time to research before making a purchase, have them sign up for a newsletter and send them reminders about coupons and discounts. You also need to know where your visitors are coming from. What are the most popular traffic sources for them? Do they find your website by simply searching for your brand name and clicking on organic search results? If yes, then that's great, because it means you've done your homework with regard to optimizing your website for search engines. If you don't rank as highly as you would like in organic search, consider doing paid search campaigns and see what quality of visitors you get. Ask yourself, are visitors from paid search likely to convert or not? It is also very important here to segment your visitors by geography and demographics. Know the states and cities your best converting visitors are coming from, and you might be able to offer local deals. To help you gauge the profile of your visitors, Yahoo Web Analytics includes demographics dimensions such as age, sex, and interests. I have here a screenshot from such a report where you can see the age and gender of the website visitors. You may think that you already know these characteristics because of the products you're selling, but you might be surprised to realize that your website is appealing to a demographic that you haven't really thought about. I know a store that sells dresses online, and the merchant thought his main audience was young ladies, only to discover that men were also a significant visitor group. This insight made him think about changing some of the design and presentation elements of his products, because he now wanted to engage more with this segment he never knew he had. So, do not simply assume that you know everything about your visitors just because you know everything there is to know about your products. Learn from the Web Analytics tool and let these insights guide your strategy. The next insight you can gain from Web Analytics is by focusing on content. Get to know your most popular pages and the least popular ones. Try to figure out why you have high bounce rates on the latter. Just a little definition here. The bounce rate is calculated by counting the number of bounces and dividing that by the number of visits. We call it a bounce if someone comes to a page on a website and leaves after only seeing that one page. So what causes high bounce rates? Is it the product description, the product photos, or simply people were looking for something else and somehow ended up on the wrong page? Check to see if your visitors prefer to search for products once they reach your website, or they follow the navigational categories. Know that some people will always prefer to search and will never bother to go through navigational categories and subcategories. That is why you need to have an internal search functionality that works and directs visitors where they've expressed the intent to go. Consider displaying the internal search box in a prominent place and invest time in designing clear navigational categories. The report I have here shows you the top entry pages and how many visitors, visits, and page views they got, as well as the bounce rates. Notice that I have a very clear spike for the bounce rate for one of the entry pages, which is a clear indicator that I need to check this page. I also need to perform A/B testing, that is, compare different versions of the same page and see which one has better metrics. And remember, that page might not always be your favorite design, but if it works for your visitors, it must be the one that you should prefer. Next, we want to think about website navigation. The main problem people have when they think about the websites they have created is that they assume that visitors will come to the site and act like they have a treasure map. They assume that a visitor will come to the home page of the site or a specially built landing page and then progress logically through the site until they do what you ultimately want them to do. For example, buy something. This is the end of your treasure map, and that's the action you want your visitors to take. The problem is that this is not what visitors actually do on websites. It actually looks more like this. A wonderfully complicated subway map. Visitors can get onto your website via many different types of pages, not just your home page or a page that makes sense. You might want them to buy something, but they may just be doing research on a product. You know the way your site works, and the visitor doesn't. They don't know the logic you are using, and they will use their own. This is the overall reason for using a web analytics tool. With a web analytics tool, you can look into the paths that visitors actually take, where they came into the site, where they left, and so on. So, you need to identify preferred navigation paths. Get to know how visitors navigate through your site and where they drop off. The screenshot is a Yahoo Web Analytics path analysis report that shows what paths visitors who completed a sale chose. It's like an interactive tree structure because it shows you where visitors went after visiting a particular page. Other web analytics tools might have different displays of visitor paths, but what is interesting to note here is that a path analysis report gives you the opportunity to walk the same path as your visitors and to see where they get distracted. You need to pay particular attention when you notice that visitors are caught in a loop and they seem to be looking for something they cannot find. For example, they're going from the shopping cart to the home page and then to the search results page and repeating this pattern. Such visitor behavior should raise flags and you should examine those pages. Following from this is the next insight you can gain from web analytics. Analyze and troubleshoot your sales funnel. A sales funnel looks like this. You have all your visitors going into the site and you want them to get to a particular point in your site because that's how you make your money or promote your brand. Obviously, not all visitors will get through your site, so as they go through every step, you lose visitors. There are different reasons for this. You have visitors who add a product to the cart just to compare it to another product, visitors who get an error when they try to add their address, visitors who get confused about navigation, and so on. That is why you need to understand your funnel abandonment rate, which is how many visitors fail to move to the next step in the funnel you have designed. You can see here a screenshot of a report where I've created what I thought was the most likely scenario visitors would follow through my website. I've created here a scenario in which visitors start by adding to basket, viewing its contents, and proceeding to the delivery options, the payment and verification, and finally the sale confirmation or thank you page. Notice that at each step I have an abandonment rate. I need to understand why that is, and I have to look at the paths visitors took when they left the funnel I had in mind for them. This will help me understand where exactly the leaks in the funnel are and why visitors get lost or leave the site before getting to the final checkout. For example, if the largest proportion of visitors falls out of the funnel at the billing details step, this may indicate that something is wrong with this page. Broken links, too many questions, lack of a privacy policy, etc. I need to examine this issue and fix it. Also, do not settle for just one sales funnel that you're unwilling to change. Test different variations and analyze which ones are the least likely to create confusion. We talked a lot about the sales funnel, and now it's time to move on to products performance. When you have an e-commerce site, you need to use web analytics to get a better understanding of how products are really performing. All of that nuance about what products are viewed but not purchased, or what products were purchased together, can be uncovered. For example, if a product was added to cart 50 times but never purchased, then that's a potential performer, and we should dig into why visitors are not committing to buy. The report you can see here is a typical representation of the product conversion funnel. That is, how many times products are viewed, added to cart, and purchased. Very interesting information which tells you at a glance how your products are performing. When analyzing products performance, you also need to look at cross-analysis. That is, products that sold together within a shopping cart. For a merchant, this information is pure gold. Why? Because analyzing customers' acquisition patterns will enable you to fine-tune any cross-selling efforts you might be doing already by offering products that are known to sell well together. Check out this information because it will help you run promotions and offer incentives more effectively. Going deeper into analyzing products' performance, wouldn't you want to know how purchased products correlate with the initial intent of the visitor? I hope you're saying yes, because we're moving on to insight number 6. Correlate purchased products to visitors' intent by examining search phrases used and purchased products. Notice here the search phrases used by visitors and various search engines linked with the products that those visitors viewed, added to cart, and purchased. This is very interesting because it allows me to see if there is a match between what a visitor wants, as expressed in the search phrase they typed, and what they end up browsing and adding to cart. I can utilize this information to check if visitors end up buying what they wanted, or whether I offer the products that people are expecting on my website. I'm also learning how visitors speak about my products by looking at their search terms, and I can take these keywords and use them as terms I bid on for my paid search campaigns. There is really a wealth of information available here, which will show me how visitors engage with my products. I mentioned campaigns, and I simply cannot pass the opportunity to highlight that web analytics can teach you a lot about your marketing campaigns. When analyzing campaigns, you need to look at revenue, costs, and conversion rates. You want to have the opportunity to report on marketing spend and relate it to the volume and rate of conversions. This provides information on the cost of acquiring a new customer and the return on ad spend for a particular campaign. You can then contrast campaign activity and spending with organic traffic. We have here a campaign report from Yahoo Web Analytics where you can see the performance of the overall channels, and you can establish a comparison between these channels. Look at bounce rates, conversion rates, and overall revenue. This will teach you about the traffic quality brought by each type of source, which will help you make a decision about where to focus. For example, looking at traffic sources, the merchant may see that organic search converts at 2%, but traffic from a specialty blog or site related to their products converts at 7%. With this insight, the merchant can try advertising on that site, get product reviews on that site, try to have more of a presence there, and should consider enhancing their presence on similar specialty sites as a good source of potential buyers. So, information on campaign performance will show you whether your spend is paying off at a granular level. You can identify poorly performing paid search keywords and troubleshoot on over and under spending. You can also measure the success of branding campaigns by measuring the volume and percentage of branded keyword searches. Or you can measure the share of direct access and bookmark traffic in the overall sources of traffic, which will show you how many people remember your brand. Knowing how online marketing is actually doing is vital for managing costs and getting the right marketing strategy in place. And with that, I would like to go back to the beginning and remind you of the web analytics process. Ask focused questions. Work on answering them and getting insights, and take action. Dig into the data to find out how visitors interact with your site, and this will provide you with critical knowledge on how to make your website a better experience for visitors, enhance usability, drive conversions, and reinforce your business goals. Ultimately, this is about you, the website owner, being in control of your website, learning what works and what doesn't, and making a decision about it. So my conclusion to you today is that web analytics is merely a tool that you can utilize to your advantage. And surprise, we have 2 Twitter winners. The prize today is this book, Yahoo Web Analytics, Tracking, Reporting, and Analyzing for Data-Driven Insights, which is a great introduction to web analytics in general and Yahoo Web Analytics in particular. Shona will now choose the winners, and we can continue with questions.
Absolutely. I just looked up over after I saw that, so thank you so much. And we have Frank Chats 5, who actually just provided some wonderful advice because one of our other members was going, is anybody else feeling a little overwhelmed? And you know what? Analytics, I have always felt, is a topic can feel very overwhelming when you're first learning it. And Frank, who has just won a book, just said, get the general idea about what things mean and how they're used, and then you know what to work on later. So I'm so glad that he was able to win this prize because that is really, really great advice. So thank you very, very much. And the other name over there was Joe Collector. So Joe Collector, congratulations. You also have won a prize as well. So make sure that you go over to twitter-winner.com and put in to claim your prize, and we can pass on that information. Great, great, great information, by the way.
I'm glad we have 2 winners today. So good luck with the book. I'm sure you'll find plenty of good information in there. And if there are any questions on what I've presented today or just web analytics in general, I'd be happy to take them.
Oh, absolutely. We have some really, really great questions for you. Everybody was just absolutely wonderful, and I love it when we get these kind of great questions. The first one we have here is from Jerry, which wanted to know, how do you compute the bounce rate, and is there an acceptable or expected bounce rate? And that's an excellent question that a lot of people wonder.
Absolutely. That is a very, very good question. So the bounce rate is calculated by taking the number of bounces and dividing them by the number of visits. And when I say bounce, what I mean by that is the number of visits which included just one page view. So essentially, those people who reached your website and did not proceed further for various reasons, but we count them as bounces because they chose not to engage further. So that's a simple count of those visits which included that one page view. And then for the bounce rate, we divide that by the total number of visits. And now, with regard to accepted bounce rates, it is really difficult to just give a general number because it really depends on the profile of your website. For example, if you have a blog or another website on which you're just providing content that people want to read, the bounce rate is always going to be higher because people come to your website, read the content, and then they leave. But in general, I would stick with the rule that anything above 50 or 60% should be a cause for investigation. So if you see something like that, just have a look to see if there is something that you can do a little bit better about that page so that visitors will decide to stay a little longer on those pages.
Absolutely. And our rule of thumb is take what your bounce rate is today and make it less. That's how much your bounce rate should be.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's always it's always a good idea to try and take the bounce rate down.
Absolutely. Just whatever it is today, make it less tomorrow. There you go. That's your goal for today. So what percentage of time do you think should be spent on analyzing a website's analytics, basically?
That's a really good question as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really depends on what you want to do with it. I think I know that people whenever they start thinking about doing analytics, they feel overwhelmed by the amount of information that's available there. And my typical response to that is just think about that one question that you want to answer today. And don't try to look at all the different metrics that a web analytics application can provide. Just think of that one question that you want answered today. So, for example, what is my conversion rate on a specific landing page for a campaign that I'm doing right now? And then try to find the data that will help you answer that question, and then gain an insight and take an action. In terms of how often you should be checking your analytics, I think as often as possible. So at least once a week, I would say. But if you can make it, if you can look at web analytics data more often than that would be great. But always do not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by the amount of data, but rather just look at how the data can be useful to you and just be active about it. And always try to find an insight that will allow you to improve just a little bit. Not just don't just get the overview of all the metrics, but look for that one specific thing that will allow you to improve something on your website.
I love it. I love it. Now, Jim wanted to know, what is the FireClick index?
The Fire-click index is, you can actually search for it, and you will see that it provides benchmark data for different industries, and it's one simple tool that you can use in order to do some external benchmarking. So you'll notice there that they provide conversion rates for specific verticals. So you'll have conversion rate for retail, for outdoor, sports and outdoor. So it's really across different industries, and you can use them just as a when you don't know, when you don't have a conversion rate number in-house, then you can use this as an external benchmark.
Great information. Now, we did get over on Twitter, how do I set up the conversion funnel report in Yahoo Analytics? Is this a custom report? Great question.
Excellent question. So let me just go back to that report. So this is how the conversion funnel looks in Yahoo Web Analytics. And notice here that I have the first step is add to basket. So essentially what I've done here is I've said in Yahoo Web Analytics, the first step in my scenario is add to basket, which means that I will take all the actions, that's how we call them in this tool, all the add to cart actions, and then look at what those visitors who added to cart did after they've added to cart. So then I've added another step, which is view basket, and then I've added delivery options, and I define this by either the page title or the page URL. And then I moved on to payment and verification, which is again defined by either the page title or URL. And then finally, I've entered the sale action, which is when Yahoo Web Analytics tracks a conversion, and you actually get the revenue tracked as well. So it is a type of in a way it is a custom report, because you need to create it. So it's not there by default, and the reason for that is that merchants will have different conversion funnels, so you need to define one that is specific to your particular website. And of course, you'll like I said, you cannot just settle for that one funnel. You always need to be testing this. So in Yahoo Web Analytics, you are able to create different funnels and thus to analyze which one works better for your website. So you need to do a little bit of work, but then you'll be able to see these numbers. And the other very interesting thing is that you will be able to look at the abandonment path. So for example, I could actually go and check why is it that where these people who chose not to go to the payment and verification stage, what pages they've actually decided to visit instead of the one that I had in mind for them.
Again, a wonderful information, and don't forget, I know that we're covering this really fast, but we are going to have rebroadcast up of all of these webinars. So, you know, if you're like, slow down, I can't write fast enough, don't worry. You'll be able to pause that video and continue. All right, so for our last question, UDA Mark, great question. Is there training classes by Yahoo to learn more about the Yahoo Analytics software?
Yes, there are. We have a bunch of webinars like this, which are available on the Help Center for Yahoo Web Analytics, and you'll find my voice there as well, because I am the one who created those. But there are webinars on all the different topics that Yahoo Web Analytics covers. So you'll have a lot of information from tracking to reports to campaigns. So you'll be able to get a lot of information on this tool if you wanted to learn more about it.
Oh, and it's good information too. Absolutely wonderful information. So if you have a hard time finding it, just let us know and we'll make sure that we point you in the right direction. Thank you so much for being here with us. We certainly do appreciate it. It was absolutely wonderful, wonderful education and learned a lot, and you're getting lots of thank yous over in Twitter. So you might have to look up that hashtag that we're using, NLE, to see all the wonderful comments everybody has been making.
Of course, thank you very much. I'm delighted to have been here today and having given the chance to speak about analytics with you. And I know you have a really busy schedule ahead of you, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful weekend of education and great information presented here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Oh, somebody had asked about, do you have analytics included in your Yahoo merchant account? It's not in the basic one, but it's in the merchant starter, or not in the merchant starter, but it's in the standard and the, oh man, what is that middle one called? I haven't messed with the packages lately. Standard. Thank you, Mother. Professional and standard.
Starter, standard, professional.
That's it. See, Mom does that stuff now. I'm doing videos and webinars and radio shows and all that other stuff. And yeah. Thank you, Mother, for jumping in with that.
That's okay. I love the numbers. I love the data. If you don't have data, you can't make decisions. So this is wonderful.